Hi, I'm Navi. So, my D&D content has been blowing up recently, and it's honestly crazy, and thank you so much for actually being interested. My goal has always been to tell stories from the start, and the idea of D&D being my primary focus at the moment excites me greatly. In this video, I will be explaining the D&D characters in my party, and also providing a format so that people can also do the same type of video. Our campaign was primarily based off of the Ghost of Saltmarsh and then turned into something remarkably different because our Viking DM decided to cook. Some of y'all thought that he was a cruel man, but dude, this guy was going through it while we were playing. He was trying to become a paramedic, working cruel hours at a senior home and other jobs. I sometimes wonder, how can this guy be so happy at this very moment? But as you can see, stress can turn into gruesome and mortifying concepts that unfortunately get inflicted upon us. Luckily, we're a little bit of a group of trauma munchers, and we just eat that up while he led. As you can see here, why am I drawing the DM? He is not playing. Why is he face? It's because we have all decided to team up once again and make a visual novel recreation of our campaign. Think, Epithet Erased or just an actual visual novel, but add the elements of my craft that I specifically want to focus on. If you want to be very specific, storyboard, choreography, fights specifically, and other scenes, but mainly the fights. Our beloved Viking DM will be our narrator, and also the voices of our beloved other characters, except for Cecil. You might be asking, but Navi, you already showed us all of that through the shorts, why again? If I were to tell you what the tension felt like through my non-memeing methods, then I would have had a goddamn novel at this point, but one of us may be dyslexic, and the others may have some form of attention deficit, so I'm doing it my way. Anyways, I forced the team to make introductions for who they are, and behind them you will see a presentation of Speedpaint character stats highlighting character background through thumbnail concepts along with all the necessary details included. If you would like to, I'll be making a thing that goes towards PowerPoint format or something else. I'll decide. I'll see when I edit the video. Anyways, we'll start off with V, played by my partner, initially based off the fact that I wanted to be a mermaid and he also had to be my other half. V has always had a rough place in my mind because Tovir has always been a bit crazy with his characters. But this one was well thought out and his motivations stayed clear despite the mess he made along the way. I would like to present to you the introduction of V. V is a wood elf Temperance homebrew ranger. At the very young age, he was already a pirate as his parents commandeered their own crew after escaping their wood elf village. For nearly 100 years, V was plundering the seas with his parents until they stole an artifact in which summoned an enormous creature of the storm. Although the crew fought valiantly, the creature was able to destroy the boat and kill everyone on board, except for V, who fell on top of the creature, mixing the creature's blood and his own to grant him abilities of the storm. V then clinged on to some floating debris and drifted asleep. When he awoke, a beautiful merfolk was drifting him ashore, and he spoke to her and realized he must get revenge on the creature that destroyed their peoples. I hope for V to become a fan favorite, as I intend to explore complex relationships with his character. Before some sessions, I'd be like, it's the breakup arc time, and as a result, he'd act as V does. Now we should introduce Schneider. He had a bit of a rough start, given the fact that we forced him into being an outlaw, despite his wanting to be a neutral party. He's overall good at heart, but he has a strong moral compass that often comes in conflict with the intentions of a party. However, he makes up for it where it matters, and he is a strong fighter when he sets his mind in the right place. We plan to expand on his backstory more as time goes. Here's an introduction for Schneider. Schneider was born and left at a doorstep of a retired fighter, now bounty hunter, named Elena. While she kept him in school and gave him a place to live, he wanted to learn the art of the blade. His weak structure made weapons such as axes and long swords not an option, so Elena trained him in the art of the rapier. Years of training drilled Schneider into a man quick with a rapier or dagger, which made up for his weak build, and over those years, Elena became less of just a mentor and became a de facto mother in Schneider's life. 6 years before the story, as Schneider and Elena hunted a dangerous lycanthrope, when Schneider had a chance to strike the creature, he froze up for a reason he couldn't explain or know. The Lycan, taking advantage, leapt forward ready to tear him apart, until his mentor, Elena, shoved him out of the way and took the fatal blow for him, but not before killing the Lycan by a decapitating strike. As she lay bleeding to death, Elena confided in Schneider how she viewed him as her own and that she hoped she didn't fail him. She said goodbye as she passed, while Schneider sobbed at what he would view as his greatest mistake. Since then, Schneider had made a living hunting wanted men and beasts for gold. He has no love for the rich, but is willing to play nice for the good coin and reputation, but he pushes down his guilt and misery in order to keep moving on, though he hasn't fully processed his grief. I hope you can find your moral standing as he does countless times. Oranus is a piece of work. I remember being sick for one session and sweating because I was fearful of the concept of him having zero intervention. I was sick and I left Cecil with him, and I honestly would describe him as an evil Grunkle Stan. If greed and curiosity was shoved into a vessel, then he was it. He was that. He was just that. However, he was very funny and had grown to be an incredibly well-done character, with his intentions never shaken by the thoughts of others. He had one goal, and whatever that goal was kept us alive. Unfortunately, here is the introduction of Oranus, and it is way too long, and I hope I can read this out loud. So Oranus was born in the country of I can't read that. A land valued for progress, embracing the study of the arcane, in particular the study of combining science with the mystical to create items that can be used by any individual. Here, those born with the innate talent of sorcery were feared, whereas wizards were widely respected due to the power they had attained through diligent studies. Sorcerers were seen as chaotic beings, unable to control their own abilities. Stories of children accidentally displaying their symptoms and being carted away to an unseen destination were not unheard of. And so when Oranus' abilities began to manifest, his family decided to hide him away, but it was too late. All Oranus remembers from the night they came was a knock at the door, the sound of a gunshot, and the branches scraping on his face as he ran into the dark forest. Several years pass by and he lives as a nomad, wandering between towns in a neighboring country, living off of the goodwill of strangers by transport and food. It was then at the young age of 11, but by luck he encountered the man that would become his mentor, Balthazar, the hero of the East Coast, liberator of the the slayer of the Silver Dragon. As the last of his Dragonborn clan and sorcerer as well, Balthazar felt the kindred soul from the young Oranus as he begged him for scraps from the table. Feeling guilty, he accepted the boy as his protege and educated him on the way of the world and magic. Balthazar taught Oranus the value of all life and told him of the invisible thread that ties all sentient life together. The thread transcends species and borders and ideologies. Together, the two dreamt of a world that could live in blissful harmony, one that had no discrimination or war or malice. As years went by, fellow like-minded individuals joined up and a small community in the capital city was formed. Oranus' everyday life continued on like this until the rumors of war began bubbling up. The king had requested the aid of Balthazar in the preparation for the war efforts. Unwilling to kill another being for something as abstract as land or loyalty, he refused the offer. The king's men came and arrested him. They publicly shamed him, denounced him as a traitor of the nation. The people who once cheered for him now demanding his head. Balthazar was killed. Oranus' views began to warp. He couldn't understand why there was a war. He didn't understand why the concept of nation had so much sway on a people. Growing up, he was never able to distinguish between countries. Borders were simply long, barren patch of land that he had to traverse. People were always just people. He realized that Balthazar was wrong. Peace and words were never going to be enough. People were never going to change their opinions unless someone forced them to. Someone has to destroy the old order and establish a new world, and Oranus was willing to use whoever and whatever method he needed in order to realize his master's shared dream. Now he wanders the country, liberating any town he sees. When he kills, it's not out of malice or desire for revenge. It merely has to be done. I pray for peace and safety for my boy, but I know very well y'all will enjoy how chaotic this entire story becomes from just one man. Now on to the one and only Bubbles. Bubbles is a very peculiar character that was made because I saw the Little Mermaid remake and I was like, I want to be a mermaid, and so I made it happen. but I could only do so much with Husk a Mermaid that Vega looks like me. I had a full intention of making myself into a menace to the DM, intentionally eating rodents on boats, and absolutely violating his mind with my ideas of mutilation for my enemies. And furthermore, making him have so many NPCs that he had to keep inventory of them. Bubbles became a single mother as a result of this. Because of the anomaly of making one boy into multiple boys as a result, Bubbles became one of the most emotionally investing characters I had ever played. I still stay up thinking, what could I have done better to save them? Now, introducing Bubbles. Bubbles is a young mermaid, as in she is like 80 years old or something, and she comes from a mermaid clan. Her parents were named Rock and Pebbles. She lived a very happy life before that and very much didn't have many issues. Her dads would teach her about artifacts and many other things that could relate to her culture. She knows how to speak the merfolk language and also the common one, as somehow the merfolk were able to go onto land. Eventually she learned how to do it also, but she's still very sheltered. Her dads were warriors, and one day one of her dads came back bleeding with nobody else to be seen. He told her that everyone had died due to the monster, and that she were to never go near it as it will result in the end of her life. And with that, he expired. Slowly, her mermaid village began to disappear, leaving her with relics of the past. She was not content. She decided, even if it were her last thing that she ever had to do, that she had to defeat the monster that had brought her people to near extinction. She spent her time researching, but also looked for the remnants of the attacks that the monster had done, in which she ran into a man who was floating at sea, unconscious. That man was V. I hope to mainly focus on the relationship she builds with those around her, emphasizing the kooky nature with a balance of emotional development and depth. Lastly, we have the boy Cecil. Cecil was never meant to be a reoccurring character, just a one-time appearance. I became very attached as he began to influence me. What started as a voice in the walls of the mansion then became the reason of my brutal restraint. He will be the secondary narrator of our story. He will guide your thoughts, curiosity, and fears. Cecil was just a boy who was unfortunate enough to be in the situation that he was in. As our party came in, he saw a glimmer of hope and decided it was worth following. His story started off with him and his family. They turned into crab people and he was taken down because of it. It caused him to live as his own house and his body became one with the home. Luckily, due to the haunting nature, nobody came to mess with it for years, till a band of land pirates came and messed with it. Cecil grew tired of their antics, then we came along, and then the story continues from there. I've been calling the shorts Cecil's Revenge, but now I can actually show it through a new way of presenting. I'm very excited to have you guys join us in the series of antics and view our perspectives as the party continues to chug on and conduct Cecil's Revenge. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.